What is poppin', YouTube? Back again with another video. Today we are doing my early wide receiver rankings for round 2 to let you know exactly who I'm drafting in round 2 and based on where and some of my thoughts. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Best free way to support the channel on this holiday weekend. Let's go. So assuming Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, and CeeDee Lamb are all off the board, this would be my rankings in the second round. Now, my first player in the second round that I'm taking is Garrett Wilson. You've heard me rant about Garrett Wilson before in this video right here, talking about how he has elite level upside. Pair him with Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a good thing. Now, especially when we look at some of his stats for last season, 17 games played, 147 targets, 83 receptions, only 12.7 fantasy points per game. But what is really exciting is the 147 targets. Now, there's a lot of things that we can look at and say Garrett Wilson can improve upon. Yes, fantasy points per game is something that he can improve upon. But if you base his targets, especially when it was with Mike White, Joe Flacco, a little bit more competent quarterback play than Zach Wilson, we are able to see elite level traits, Justin Jefferson type rookie season stats. And I think Garrett Wilson can cement himself as a top 4, top 3 wide receiver this season in fantasy football. And so to getting that in the second round is something that I love. Currently right now on Underdog ADP, Garrett Wilson's going at pick 12, pick 13. So yes, maybe he is a first round pick and he's not a second round pick, but you're able to get him at that turn a lot of times at the 2-1. And that is somewhere that I love to get Garrett Wilson. My second wide receiver in this range that I'm ranking is Davante Adams, the old legend, the man himself. And the only reason he's going in the second round currently right now is because of his lack of quarterback play that's going to be happening. We don't know if it's going to be Jimmy G. If it's not Jimmy G, it's about to be Aiden McConnell or something really bad. And so a lot of people are off Davante Adams, and that's why he is currently going off as the wide receiver 9. Overall, he's going at pick 13. But even so, like, Davante Adams has proven in his elite level ceiling that he has, where the last 3 seasons, 25.6 fantasy points per game, 21.5, 19.7, even last season put him as the wide receiver 5. So even if something happens to Davante Adams, where he has someone terrible throwing in the ball, even when Jarrett Stidham came in the game last season, he had solid fantasy production. So I am not as worried about Davante Adams, and I'm not going to push him any further down the board. Dude's a legend. Yes, will he fall off at some point? Will the Julio cliff hit him? Yes. I don't think it's this season. And there's even a chance, too, that we get to training camp, the Raiders realize how bad they're going to be, and maybe they trade Davante Adams. Now, I don't think that is super possible with Davante Adams' huge contract, but it's something to keep an eye on. So I do love Davante Adams as a second wide receiver. If I get him as my wide receiver 1 this season, I'm feeling absolutely fine, especially if I went early running back. And if we're talking in our underdog drafts, getting Davante Adams in the second round, maybe after you've already taken someone like a Stephon Diggs or an AJ Brown, and you're able to pair AJ Brown, Davante Adams as your start, feels really great to me. My third wide receiver in the second round range is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think this is where a lot of people are going to debate me here when we're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown over Jaylen Waddle. But let me tell you why I love some Amon-Ra St. Brown this season. You have Jameson Williams suspended for the first 6 games. No more TJ Hawkinson in the Lions offense. They drafted Sam Laporta, so you're bringing in an inexperienced tight end. As a lot of us in the Dynasty community love Sam Laporta, it's hard for us to say, yep, Sam Laporta is going to be a target hog right out of the gate. So looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, he was the target hog last season. When we're talking about 146 targets for 106 receptions, 6 total touchdowns, 16.7 fantasy points per game. Who's not to say that with the offense, of course they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. They have the weapons in the backfield. They signed David Montgomery. So of course the running game is going to be a priority. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, even if the running game is super talented with a great offensive line, that's going to open up so many play action opportunities for him over the middle. I wouldn't be surprised to see Amon-Ra St. Brown with the targets that have opened up for him to get to 150, 160 targets. And if we're talking about him in that range, all of a sudden Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be going even higher and producing at a higher fantasy football clip than he did last season. And so that's just the reason that I'm taking him over Jaylen Waddle, as we talk about Jaylen Waddle, I do love me some Jaylen Waddle. So if Jaylen Waddle ends up being my wide receiver 1 on a few of my redraft teams in my underdog leagues, I'm not feeling bad about it. But Jaylen Waddle, now people give him the crap because he is the wide receiver 2 on his own team. Granted, anyone playing behind Tyreek Hill, you're going to be the wide receiver 2. But Jaylen Waddle showed amazing flashes last season with 15.2 fantasy points per game, 116 targets for 75 receptions. If we don't remember, as much as he was the wide receiver 12 on a fantasy points per game basis, how many games he did not have Tua to play with, where he was getting thrown in there with 6-round quarterbacks, with Teddy Bridgewater. Now, if Tua had played the whole season, we might be talking about Jaylen Waddle as a top 6 wide receiver. My boy Notorious Fantasy, if you don't follow him, go check him out. He's a huge Dolphins fan. In almost any video he talks about, he says, guys, we can't dismiss the fact that Tua did not play a lot of these games. When Jaylen Waddle had competent quarterback play, he was a solid wide receiver. I do love me some Jaylen Waddle this season. I am just taking him behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, Davante Adams, and Garrett Wilson. So let me know down below, what do you think of the second round wide receivers currently going in underdog drafts? Do you agree with this ranking? Do you think any of these guys should be higher? Let me know down below. Appreciate everyone for tuning in here today. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Best free way to support the channel. I'll catch you guys on the next side. Peace.